Hello and welcome once again to this Red Gaming Tech video. Myself and Marta, as always, I'm here with the latest news from the tech world in the last 24 or so hours. Today we're going to start things off with a couple of things from Samsung, the first of which is regarding an investment in their NAND factory in China. So essentially what we have is a Chinese media report which was spotted by the folks over at Reuters, and of course you can find this linked in the description below this video if you want to read the source for this. But basically what they're saying is that according to the report, Samsung has decided to invest an impressive $8 billion into their Chinese NAND production, and that's on top of their earlier investments. And for those of you wondering, okay, why are they actually going to do this? Basically, we're expecting an increase in demand for NAND flash memory in 2020. So Samsung is hoping to boost production of NAND flash and flood the market just in time for this increase. And unsurprisingly, a big chunk of this demand is going to be due to the increase in availability of 5G smartphones. According to previous reports, Samsung own an impressive chunk of this particular market and obviously looking to increase that further. So while this potentially could backfire if we do not see the predicted increase that analysts are expecting, Samsung are very much hoping that it will help them claw back some of that market share which they have lost over the last couple of years. But that's not the only thing they had to share with us. They had some interesting stuff to share regarding risc-v at a summit this week. So this was at the, unsurprisingly, risc-v summit. I know, amazing. And basically they disclosed that they're going to be using Sci-5's risc-v cores for upcoming chips for various things. And unsurprisingly, the sort of main thing at the front of this particular queue is regarding 5G or 5G RF front-end modules, which are going to be used in the flagship phones due in 2020. But we're also going to be seeing these chips being used for things like AI computing and control, AI image sensors, and security management. Now, what actual details as to what these chips are going to be, specification-wise and all that sort of thing, and the exact applications and devices we might see them in, unfortunately, we don't have that information. The only other thing that is interesting is some comments made by a Sci-5 spokesperson to the register.co.uk, which is the source for this information, so thank you very much to them. Once again, you can find them linked below. So they said, quote, with the risc-v vector specification, the maximum vector length can vary depending on the VLAN parameter. In Sci-5 intelligence cores, VLAN is a configurable hardware parameter, as is the data path width. That determines the amount of vector computation per cycle that can be performed. Sci-5 intelligence is comprised of several VI core generators, where the V12 series is the first we're publicly talking about. The initial default configuration of the V12 series is capable of 128-bit cycle processing to offer focused power and area benefits for offering a 9 times increase in performance on 32-bit vector floating point operations across a variety of workloads. So, going to be interesting to see what these chips end up being used for, and of course this kind of ties in nicely with Samsung's increased investment in NAND as well, of course. So, going to be curious to see if Samsung can kind of claw back some of their market share, because of course they once were the kings. They were once the world's largest chip maker, but they no longer have that throne. It now belongs to the folks over at Intel, and I'm sure Samsung would very much like to have it returned to them. Time will tell, of course, whether or not that ends up being the case. But speaking of Intel, we actually have a very interesting new chip upcoming from a Chinese competitor to both Intel and AMD. So this is a new chip from a company by the name of ZhaoXin, who you may be familiar with, as back in June they released a CPU which was a 16nm process node on an x86 architecture. This was the KX6000 family, which was designed for both mobility and desktop PCs. But they have some new announcements as to what's coming in the future. This is the KX7000 series. Now, on top of some improvements in specifications, which we'll go through in a minute, this is going to be on the 7nm manufacturing process and will also include an iGPU, which was not the case with the KX6000. So what else do we see here? Well, we will see it be compatible with DX12 and offer support for DDR5 RAM and PCIe 4.0. And not only, of course, are they working on 7nm production at the moment, they're even looking forward to the future. They're already in the planning phase for a sub-7nm design, which once again is going to both be for mobility and desktop CPUs. What's really interesting, however, is what they've got planned for their server series of CPUs, which is the Kaisheng KH4000 processor. So this is going to be a 16nm processor node. However, they're going to be bringing a new microarchitecture to the table, as well as looking to quadruple the cores/threads compared to what we have on the market from them at the moment, which is of course the KH3000 series. So at present, their server chips have 8 cores and 16 threads, but if they are looking to quadruple it, we could see it go up to 32 cores and 64 threads, which, as I'm sure you have immediately realised, would make it on the line of Threadripper from AMD. Now, of course, the core count of the 4000 series has not been announced, and obviously we don't know information regarding clock speed and that sort of thing, but I would expect it to be higher than the base clock speed of the 3000 series, which is 2.7 GHz. So it would be really interesting to see this matching Threadripper in terms of cores versus threads, and if it even has a similar clock speed, AMD could have a potentially unexpected competitor in the HEDT space, which of course they are absolutely crushing with Threadripper at the moment. Intel have not really managed to do that well in terms of raw specifications versus Threadripper 3000 from what we know about it. So, well, time will tell, of course, how interesting this company ends up being, but my eye is definitely on them. So, we're going to move over to something a bit mysterious now. And why it's mysterious, I'll get into. What it actually is a sysoff listing which has been helpfully tweeted by Momomo. And where it starts to get weird is the fact that it's showing as a 2 times Intel core, okay, normal so far, but then i3/i5/i7, as well as 6 cores and 12 threads. And also, as you can see on the tweet from Momomo, we can see the cache of the L2 is a little bit odd as well, 1.25 megs times 6. Obviously, at the moment, Sunny Cove is going to be 512 KIB. So I think a lot of the weirdness of this is it's not being detected correctly by Sysoft. That's probably why it's being detected as i3/i5/i7. We just don't know what this is. It's obviously going to be something workstation related because it literally says that server/workstation, and the name/brand is Supermicro. So it's obviously a server or workstation based something, but we just don't know what it is. It's just a bit odd. But moving on from the strange to the known with Nintendo, or to be more specific, the Nintendo Switch. Now, it's no secret how much of an absolute tear the Nintendo Switch has been on ever since it came out. It is a very good system, and Nintendo have 110% learned from the mistakes they made during the Wii U era. And according to a recent report from the NPD group analyst Matt Piscatella, the Switch once again found itself at the top of the charts in November, which I shouldn't need to remind you is a highly critical period. Pre-Christmas, paycheck before Christmas, some people are going to get theirs like in December, like they'll get paid at the end of November and get some last minute Christmas presents in December, and that's what I did myself with a few people this year. So December is also going to be a critical report, but the fact that they've managed to come up on top for November is huge. However, despite the rosy figures for the Switch itself, spending on video game hardware was actually down 19% compared to last year. And you can even see that across the entire gaming industry when you look at hardware, software and accessories. Year-to-date spending dropped 12% versus last year. So this is probably just due to the fact that, well, the main consoles, that being the PS4, Xbox One, they're obviously showing their age. We just got the announcement of the Xbox Series X, and obviously everyone's expecting the PS5 to be coming out next year, as well as the Series X as well. So most people that have one of the consoles already has one, and one who doesn't already have one is probably waiting for next gen at this point. Obviously, Nintendo Switch is not as bad, I guess, in terms of the age. It's still fairly new in comparison to the Xbox One / PS4. And obviously, while we've had some really good games this year, I feel like the series has not been that strong compared to how insane that the last couple of years have been in terms of game releases. I think I'm still going to have a decent list for my Game of the Year, which will be coming soonish. I need to actually start writing the script for that. But it's not going to be as difficult as, say, 2017 or even 2018 when it came to narrowing it down to 5 games. So while it's down at the moment, it's not really surprising. Given where we are in the current life cycle of the current generation, we can probably expect much healthier results next year. But of course, we'll have to wait and see. Let me know your thoughts and opinions though on everything discussed in this video. Thank you so much for watching. As always, the support is highly appreciated, and I'll see you next time. Bye bye.